Welcome to the Smokies and Wine podcast with JB and Jamie, with the best guests, wine and chat. You know it makes sense. Sponsored by Clackenview Wealth Management, working with you today to plan for your tomorrow.
Welcome to Smokies and Wine podcast. We have Arbroath legend and Scottish football legend Jimmy Bone with us. Welcome, Jimmy.
Welcome. Brilliant to be here.
Thanks for coming, Jimmy.
How are you doing anyway?
Great.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing excellent, thanks. I'm good, Nick.
Good. Really want to just talk about mostly your whole career. Obviously we're going to talk about Arbroath. We're from Arbroath. It's the Smokies and Wine podcast. We couldn't do it without it. But you know, without covering every single sort of day of your life, just more about sort of where it all began, how you first got into football and
Yeah, well, basically, the people wouldn't believe it, but I actually went to a rugby playing school.
That's right.
Because it was back in the day where you sat an exam and that determined what school you went to.
Right,
so,
okay.
like, I did well in the exam, and I went to what they called then the senior secondary, and it was a rugby playing school. And my dad worked in the pits. His dad worked in the pits, and his dad worked in the pits. It was one of them. And me, well, I started off as an apprentice electrician in the pits as well.
Oh, I'm an electrician at trade as well, mate.
Yeah, but I hope you're a better electrician than I was.
Certainly not.
because you had to go quite far for training though and stuff, did you not?
Yeah, well, to start with, basically I just played boys brigade stuff,
right.
And during that time I was invited to go and play trials. Stirling Albion had me training with them for a wee while, and because I worked in the mines as an apprentice electrician, sometimes I used to run from Flynn into Stirling, which was 3 miles, do a training session, and then I would run back and then go and do my shift.
Oh, this is before your shift?
Yeah, and then I'd go and do my shift. I'd run the 6 miles, I'd do the training, then I'd go and do the shift.
And then away doing the pits?
Doing the pits, yeah, which was great. The pits was good for me because I was quite a shy boy, and the pits sort of brought me out, and actually I think it helped shape me as a person, because the camaraderie, everybody's down there and everybody's the same when they're down there, and I think that helped develop me into the person that I've become.
And a job like that, you'd have to grow up quick, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's it, you're there. It's if something happens, everybody joins in. It's not a case of I'm an electrician, you're an engineer. If everybody mucks in,
that would have given you a sense of teamwork from an early
very much
days,
teamwork. And also the thing about it is I was quite slight in build then, right. So what I used to do is I used to have bogies and trains, and a lot of the time I wouldn't go in the bogies and trains. I would maybe walk the distance of the train. Right. The bogies used to take you up the big steep slopes. Well, I used to go and walk up the slopes.
Right, so
just to help build myself up. So it helped me in that sense as well.
Did you always have the intention to try and make it in football then?
Yes, I was desperate. It's all I ever done. When I wasn't working on that, I was just playing football. One of these ones, street lights, car lights, anything at all where you could go and you could kick a ball. I set my heart to go and play, and then what happened is that I had 10 trials for different teams before I actually got
you famously had a trial for Liverpool, didn't you?
Yeah, I played a trial for Liverpool and scored a couple of goals. Played Blackburn Rovers, I think it was something like 8-1 or something. But it was a Liverpool B team, which basically was their second youth team.
Right.
Was that Shankly years, like early?
Yeah,
early on?
Shankly. But where I think it came about was that I played 2 trials for Hibs, and the manager was Bob Shankly.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So I think there was maybe some kind of tie up there.
Yeah.
I actually thought Hibs would have signed me, but they didn't do it. Believe it or not, I played the trial for Forfar as well. I played 3 times for Stirling Albion, and they played one of the 5 junior teams, Newborough.
All right,
and we beat them 8-3. It was a Tuesday night, and I scored 5 goals, and Stirling Albion didn't think I was good enough.
Really? And
I also played for them at Partick Thistle in a reserve game. Stirling Albion didn't sign me, but Partick Thistle invited me back to play for them.
Right.
So I played that trial for Partick Thistle, and then the next day the manager of Partick Thistle was in the house sitting waiting on me when I came home from work.
And is that where it all seriously began?
And that's when it seriously began then. That's when I signed the contract professionally, and that was it.
So then that was you finished down the mines straight away?
Well, not straight away. It was a part-time contract that I signed to start with, and so after after a couple of years, I decided I have to have a go full-time football. But I'd left, I'd only 6 months to my time to go, and then after a wee while I went, no, that was silly. So I went back part-time, and it was while I was part-time, and it was my last day as an apprentice. Now, I don't know if it was organised like that with Thistle, but it was my last day as an apprentice and my first day as a tradesman, where I got the call saying that they'd accepted a bid from Norwich City. But Thistle would just won the League Cup, so we got promotion and won the league, and then won the League Cup, and then I got transferred to Norwich and got promotion with Norwich. They reached the League Cup final, but I got transferred the week of the League Cup final before the deadline, and Sheffield United wanted a striker. So that just started off a spell where Arbroath came into my mind and did a great job with me. Was that I left Thistle and went to Norwich. I was there in and around a year, and then from there I went to Sheffield United, and it was the same. I was there a year within a week or two, and then I went to Celtic, similar, and then I went to Arbroath. So during that spell, like I'd went from one team to another, and that's when I went to Arbroath. And when I first went there, Albert Henderson was the manager, and they just made me feel so wanted. I took to the place right away, and that was a big turning point for me, because doing all these moves, my head was kind of all over the place. But the situation at Arbroath just brought me right back down to earth, and just all Albert Henderson used to say, just go and play, son, we know you can play.
The famous
just
Albert Henderson.
Brilliant. Because right away you're feeling so much better about yourself. And then you look around the changing rooms, we had some good players at Arbroath. Goalkeeper was Gordon Marshall.
Right.
We had Cammy Murray.
See, this is before I used to go to Gayfield in the 70s with my dad, but I can't remember. I can remember Rylance, but that was after that.
Derek Rylance, he was a good player as well.
Fletcher, if he'd done?
John Fletcher. One of the best midfield players in the country at the time, Tam Cargill.
Oh yeah.
Big Tam was a right good player.
Big Tam, related to Tam through marriage.
Yeah. And then Eric Sellers. Jimmy Cant had just stopped. John Fletcher was there, there was Tommy Yule, and Andy Penman was there when I went. Andy Penman played for Dundee, I think won the league with Dundee and then won the league with Rangers, and he was playing.
I think Tommy Yule, my dad used to say, was a Tanner Bar player.
He was a Tanner Bar player, but he was good. He's a good player. And Andy Penman, my first game, he says, "See, we get any free kicks in the wider area, Jimmy, just make sure you're running across the defender." He says, "We'll put it in." And sure enough, early on, so then we struck up a relationship, and I scored a lot of goals from Andy doing that.
So how long were you at Arbroath then?
I think it was over 3 years, and I loved it, and it was an opportunity to go full time again is the reason I left, and it was to go to St Mirren, and it was Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson.
How did that conversation go then with Fergie?
Very, very straightforward. Very straightforward. He says that he had a very, very young team, and he needed somebody of my experience. He says he needed a bit of veteran, and I'm going away and thinking of it. I was 28.
I was about to say, what that old?
I was 28, but they called the veteran because I thought all these teams over. It was a short period of time, but people tend to think like you were there 2 and 3 years at other clubs. So I joined them, and very successful, and that was a right good St Mirren team. That Fergie put the team together, and then it moved on. And I think it was 1981 we finished third in the league, and with 2-3 games to go, we were going to Pittodrie, and if we beat Aberdeen, we were actually in with a chance of winning the league.
Really?
And Aberdeen beat us 2-0, and I remember we won our last 2 games. The last game was at Ibrox. I think we beat Rangers 4-1. And it was just a bit unfortunate. And I believe that there was a guy called Reid, who was a centre half, who played for the Scotland under-21s in a sort of trial game against the Highland League, and he got an injury. Bobby Reid was his name, and 6'3", magnificent hair, really good player. And if he hadn't got injured, I think we could have won the league, because he was a 12-15 goals a season from set pieces, as well as his defensive part of it. And I think we could have maybe won the league if Bobby would have stayed fit.
What was Fergie like?
Well, everybody tells you he
you hear all the stories,
he's very intense and very good. And the biggest single thing he's got is that he knows people. He knows people that he can lay into, and he knows people that you can't. So he knew what made people tick. So he got the best out of people.
Did you know he would? Did you have a hunch he'd go on?
Well,
what he did?
I knew he'd be successful, but I never dreamed for a minute he would be as successful as it became. I thought when he went to Aberdeen it was a pinnacle of him, and then he goes to Man United and he's absolutely sensational. When what he's done, he's the best manager there's ever been in history, isn't he? Really?
I'm not a fan of Fergie, but you can't argue
what he's done. And
yeah.
He was good to play for. He was really good to play for, and when you're going on the pitch feeling good about playing, which I had done with my spell at Arbroath, every time I went on I always felt relaxed, as if I would go on and play really well, because of the way Albert done it, because Albert had a bit of the psychology as well, where he knew what made people tick, and he just had the habit of saying the right things to you.
Do you think that's what managing's changed these days? It's gone away from the personalisation into the more tactical?
Possibly, but I think now it should actually go and be more personalised. I think the modern footballers are not as resilient. They don't tend to take knocks the same way. And this goes down.
They roll though, don't they?
Your pride wouldn't let you get knocked down.
Mate,
if you got knocked down, you were knocked down because
someone had done you.
You took a dull one. And
your own teammates would slag you if you got.
Very. But no, they wouldn't need it. I'd slag myself. It was just one of these things. So
how did Fergie compare to Jock Stein then as a manager? Because you were under Jock.
To be honest, funny enough, I was just talking about it just earlier with my pals there. Is that when I went to Norwich City, the manager at the time was a guy called Ron Saunders, who won the European Cup with Aston Villa.
Right.
Then they went to Celtic, Jock Stein, and then they went with Ferguson, who went on to win. So I was very, very fortunate to have been involved with good managers, and I put Albert Henderson. I know Albert didn't go and manage at the level of these guys, but he had a lot of what these guys had in them.
Same qualities.
Same qualities in and around them, and I could never ever believe that Dundee didn't go at the right time and get Albert to go and be their manager, because his background was he played for Dundee, and I always thought that was quite strange.
It's always my dad's like an Arbroath fan for like 80 years or something, and he always goes on about Albert Henderson constantly.
I just can't believe that Dundee never went and asked him. It's just a strange thing, because I think he would have done a right good job for Dundee.
One thing you mentioned was Partick Thistle earlier.
Yeah.
You were in the cup final.
Yeah. It's
what happened there?
50 years this October.
Is it?
Yeah.
What made? How did that come about? Because Celtic were so strong.
Well, Celtic was. What actually happened is that they'd got relegated for the first time in their history, and then they won the league and got promotion. And that period of time going and winning most of the games, it was confident. Everybody's confidence was high, and what it was is that it was a very, very young team. We went from having an older goalkeeper to Alan Ruff going in goals,
right?
With a guy, Jackie Campbell, who was in his mid-20s, who was a centre half, and the guy behind him was a guy called Hugh Strachan, who was in his 30s, had played at Kilmarnock. Frank Coulson was the striker. Alec Ray was a midfield player. These were the experienced guys. So we had guys like Alan Ruff said, John Hanson, who was at Alec Forsyth, who went on to play for Man United and Rangers. Ronnie Glavin in the middle of the park went on to play for Celtic. We had wingers with Bobby Laurie, Dennis McQuaid, and there was, I think, 4 of us went on to play for Scotland under 23 in the same team at the same time, 4 Partick Thistle players.
So you think you were just young and fearless, basically?
Well, the manager again, Dave McParlin, who instilled confidence in you, and you're talking the week of the cup final, is like he more or less brainwashed us, because what we'd do, the stuff we were doing, it was going, your pace is going to cause him a problem. And Frank Coulson and myself played up front. The 2 of us were quite quick, and we had a little partnership. And basically what it was, if it was knocked in there physically, I would go in. And then if it was one of these, it was a sort of loose ball, Frank would get it. That basically how we worked. And so he just kept saying, your pace is going to murder Celtic. And then we got a wee break because Billy McNeil took ill on the Friday and he didn't play. So that sort of helped us because Celtic, Billy McNeil was such a big player for Celtic as the leader. And I think that went with us. But we didn't expect, we were 4-0 up at half time.
Yeah, it's just insane.
And it was just, everything just fell into place.
What was half time like?
It was very rowdy, and it was a case of going, it was getting the manager having to calm everybody down, and it was a case just calm everything. And I don't think there were any of us went on the field the second half without thinking Celtic's capable of scoring 5 here. Yeah. So we battled in the second half. We still had our opportunities, and then Kenny Dalglish scored, and it was 4-1. And we had times where we were under the cosh a little bit, but they never got that second goal, which maybe would have changed the outlook of it. And it was a sensational day, and it still is, and it's still fresh in my memory. And no matter where I've been in the world, there's always someone's come up and asked me about that game.
Really? It's famous. It's so famous.
Incredible. You know that...
Well, Celtic were in the middle of 9 in a row and all that.
That's right. It was... I went to Canada and I played on loan at Toronto, and I was approached by a guy saying that he was a member of the Partick Thistle Supporters Club in Toronto. They wanted to make a presentation because I was the first guy from the team that they'd ever come across. So I went along, and I'm not joking, you would have thought the event was in Sauchiehall Street.
Really?
It was packed to the rafters. The Glasgow people who were genuine Partick Thistle, so I couldn't believe it. It was incredible.
A quiet night then, eh?
It was just incredible, all these people coming up and going photographs, and I just couldn't believe it.
So you were a part-time player winning the cup?
Yeah. You know that I was night shift that week of the cup final.
Still down the pits?
Yeah, but the guy says to me on a Wednesday night, you're not working.
Aye.
You don't work.
So he wasn't a Celtic fan then?
No, the guys in general said, no, you're not working. So you make sure you rest for the final.
What was the reaction like back at work then? When you went back to work then?
Oh, it was great.
Beginning of the week.
It was great to go back to work. It was absolutely brilliant. It was first class.
You even get an extra day off?
No, well, to be fair, they looked after me pre-cup. After the cup, it was a completely different thing.
You couldn't imagine that nowadays, eh?
No, you couldn't imagine it. But just the way it is, you know. But then you look at the big games Arbroath play now. You've got guys. I don't know if guys do the shifts, but you've got guys. It's a midweek game. The guys are going to a full day's work and then going to play at night, and that's why it's so good that Arbroath have done as well as they have.
Yeah, that was the thing we were
these guys have
about.
grafted. Yeah, because I think it maybe caught Alloa a wee bit, you know. But Dick knows when to give the players a break and when not to give the players a break. He knows when to go and push them, and he knows when not to push them. Through his experience and what he is, and he's such a people person. Like we're talking with these other managers, Dick's got that.
Right.
He knows people, and he doesn't take crap off anybody.
Where did you meet Dick first? What's the history of you and Dick?
We played against each other.
So you never played together?
We never played together. We used to just knock the crap out of each other, and for some reason we just got on all right, and then we'd go for a beer after a game, as we used to do, and then we joined the coaching course with the SFA at the same time, and through somebody's wisdom we were roommates. So we were roommates, and we've been roommates for 30 years or something.
Would it have been when you where were you playing then when you played for Scotland? Were you Celtic at that point? Or were you Sheffield?
No. I played for Scotland under 23s when I was at Partick Thistle,
right,
and also Norwich, and then I played for Scotland when I was at Norwich, and I was in the squad at Sheffield and I think I played one at Sheffield.
Because it was 2 games, 1 goal again. You know, you still kept that thing.
Yeah, with all due respect, is that the strikers then was Dalglish, McCarry, you had Joe Jordan coming up,
Dennis Law would be there as well, was he?
Yeah, Dennis Law played, yeah. So it wasn't even McBurney and Dykes. And I keep kidding the boys on in my local pub like about it. You know, they say just wind them up. I had 100 caps now, and I wouldn't.
But you would have a lot more. You know,
I'd probably have a lot more, but I love my time. My first full cap is that I came on for Dennis Law. So
was that the Yugoslavia game or the Denmark game?
It was the Yugoslavia game, and I came on, and he was brilliant. And he was great to me. He was really good, always good with a word.
Have you ever managed to have you mentioned Kenny, like obviously he was my hero growing up. You ever managed to give him a kicking on the pitch?
Nah, no, really. Well, I played with him at Celtic as well, and I also played with Kenny under 23 Scotland. Kenny played, and so I played with Kenny, and I knew Kenny. Kenny's a great guy.
Did you know
brilliant
he was going
guy,
to be
good player? By the way, no many could give Kenny a kick because he was clever and he was cute and he could look after himself. He was the same as Dennis Law. People thought Dennis Law was this wee soft boy and that. No, you don't. If you're that good, you don't go and play all the time unless you know how to look after yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And they weren't the guys for being out injured. They knew how to look after themselves as well.
And can you tell when you're playing somebody that they're going to go on to big things?
Oh, you could see it with Kenny.
Right.
You could see he was razor sharp, and you knew. He just always seemed to be that wee bit in front. He was so calm in front of goals that you knew he was going to be something special. But at that time we thought he was just going to be really, really special and stay at Celtic.
Right.
But he went to Liverpool, and he used to get knocked for his performances for Scotland, which I felt was
unfair.
I thought it was vastly unfair. It was the same with Dennis Law as well. They didn't realise that the opposition spent all their time looking after them. That really we should have had a plan B.
Yeah. It's a little bit like Messi for Argentina recently.
Of course it is.
He just gets targeted, and they
That-
want him
that's
to.
right, aye.
They want him to win the
And they don't do anywhere near as well
Yeah.
as it, because everybody knows, right, just go and make sure he doesn't play.
Yeah.
And then you need somebody else to step up to the plate.
And then he's playing out of position and trying different things.
That's
and
right.
It's just not his natural game.
Yeah. Just say, like, going to Arbroath was great. It was just great. It was sad leaving, but it was time to leave. Because when I went to St Mirren, I went as a part-time player to start with, and they were vying with Ayr United for relegation out of the Premier League. So it was close, and then what happened is that we beat Ayr 2-0 down at Ayr. So that was St Mirren safe, and then I went full-time with St Mirren, and I really, really enjoyed myself with St Mirren because some of the players that I played with there were just sensational.
When you were part-time, you weren't down the mines again, no?
No, not that time, because when I went to Arbroath is that there was a guy called Dave Keane, who was the director of Arbroath, who worked in the electrical game. It was a light fitting company that he worked for, and he was able to fix me up with a job with an electrical wholesaler in Rosyth.
All right.
And which was another thing you're grateful for, and that's what Arbroath did. They looked after you. They looked after you. So they got me this full-time job, and then Albert says to me, "Look, you don't have to travel up to Arbroath from Stirling at training nights. What to do is that I'll have a word with Alex Smith at Stirling Albion." So I used to train with Stirling Albion when Alex Smith was the manager, and that's how me and Alec got. I knew Alec, but that's how we got to become really friendly. So I would go with them, and I'd just come for full-time Celtic, and Alec used to say to me pre-seasons, he says to me, "Right, make sure they're fit, Jimmy, run," because I could run. So I used to dictate the training, as it were, but it worked out. But Albert and Arbroath did a great thing every year at the start of the season, is that the players who didn't live local, they got told to take a week off work, and 2-3 weeks before the season started, you came to Arbroath, and we used to stay at the Windmill Hotel.
All right, yeah.
And we trained every day. We trained every day, morning and afternoon. We trained every day, and that gave us that extra boost, that extra momentum, and the extra fitness, and plus it helped with the camaraderie. Because the local boys, it was easy enough for them to maybe get a half day off or something like that, you know. And so we went, and that gave us a bit of togetherness as well.
Were you at Lunan Bay up the dunes or something, were you?
We're at Lunan Bay, yes, we're at Lunan Bay, and the amount of times we run up and down that hill straight across, it's just to decide to touch his nuke.
Aye.
You know, and the sand runs along, and then we did a Lunan Bay, and but we did a lot of ball work as well. And did a lot of ball work, and he always had good friendlies. We played good friendlies, but that week it sort of brought everybody together as a team, and it was clever. And it's, by the way, clever of the directors as well for them to release the funds to do it.
Sure.
Because wouldn't it be cheap getting a group in?
Well, on about funds there, like, where did Arbroath get the money to buy you? Because that's still, JB was telling us, you're still the second biggest
social club.
Was it? I think you're the second most expensive player they've bought still, even to this day, sort of thing.
The social club.
I don't know what you'd be worth in today's money.
Yeah, the social club supplied the money.
Right.
To buy me, yeah.
Is it 15 grand, I think, or something?
No.
That was
higher.
Oh, right.
Right. What did you go for then?
I think it was 25.
Right.
Cool as
What would that be now?
Is that be about $250,000 now or something stupid?
I think it was 25, yeah.
What was the situation with Celtic? Why did you not?
Well, I only played 6 games in the year I was there, but the strikers was Bakari, Dalglish, Dixie Deans.
Dixie Deans, yeah.
So it was difficult, and the last game I played was the first time I scored for Celtic. Yeah. So I thought, oh, that's me.
Just bedded in there.
If I get in, I'm confident now I'll be able to go and do it, but they sold me.
You just didn't get a chance?
After it, I never got a chance after that.
Did he not admit that he let you go too soon or something to you?
Yeah, to me, later on. This was years after.
Yeah.
This was, he used to go and pick up Bob Shankly at Stirling and Alex Smith, and he used to go and watch games, and what happened is that it said to Alex Smith that I was too quick in moving Jimmy on, and Alec had said to him, like, you know, well, should you maybe tell Jimmy that? And then I met him, and that's what he says to me: I got you wrong, son.
Which is a great thing to hear from someone like Jock Stein.
10 feet tall. 10 feet tall, which is great. There are not many people prove me wrong, but yeah, you've been able to do that, which was good.
Other thing I heard about Jock with you was obviously you're beautifully well shaven today.
Oh yeah.
You had the big tash back then.
I had the moustache and everything and the long hair, and Celtic had no facial hair at all, and so I go in and meet him and sign the forms, and I get in and I says, what about my moustache? No, just you keep that on, son. And I went home and I've given it. I go in here tomorrow here in this dressing room with the moustache. I'm going to get dog's abuse. Oh, who do you think you are? And I'm going to get one of that. And I went, nah. So I shaved it off. So I went in the morning. I see Mr. Stein, a wee smile. But when I got in the dressing room, the boys started to give me stick.
Oh, for taking it off?
Aye, for taking it off. Yeah. You want the big man sorted you out, eh? Yeah, I don't know if he'd said to the players or not, but it was a no-win situation.
Aye.
And what was it like training with Jock Stein? What was he like? Was he
very good? He enjoyed the laugh, enjoyed the company. He used to like to push players to the limit. He would go and he would organise foot races. He would go and say, right, used to use a run over 100 yards. And I would say, right, I used to use a run over 400, and he used to go and do, and
I think little head-to-heads or something.
Yeah, head-to-head. It was just a lot to do with psychology and just how we do. And I remember one day he says, right, okay, you're going to have a race, a full lap. Okay, right. And then he went, and it was Jim Brogan, and he says to Jim Brogan, you're going to race against Jimmy. He says, but you've got 60 yards at a start. I'm going like, they're reminding me, 60 yards. And he came up to me before the run, and you know what he said to me? Don't make a fool of him, Jimmy. I says, what do you mean? You'll catch him, no bother, but don't make a fool of him.
Right.
Make it nice and close. And he's right. Because like you go in, like with maybe 300 yards, I was like practically touching his shoulder, so I just toddled over. So it was that was again a confidence thing. He was trying to go.
Just all psychology and stuff.
Psychology all the time. And It's very, very much. It's a part of sport, because I've got a great saying, like, up here between your ears is for football, down there's for dancing. Your feet's for dancing. It's in here for football. So it's what goes on between the ears. Like Fergie's one, never give in. I was fortunate enough that I never ever gave in.
How did you end up in Canada? And was that?
There was a guy called Keith Eddy. He was a midfield player who Sheffield United bought from Watford. He played. He was coming towards the end of his career, and he became manager of Toronto Blizzard in the old NASL. So he contacted St Mirren and said that could he sign me? And so they sat down and said, well, Jimmy's got a couple of years on a contract left. Well, could we get him on loan? So what they did is that they took me on loan. So I played the full Scottish season, then I went on loan for Toronto, came back, played the Scottish season, and then went back on loan. So I think it was
just in the summer?
Just in the summer. I was there for 4 months. So it was 8 months Scotland, 4 months, 8 months, 4 months, and then 8 months. So it was nearly like 3 years without a break. And so St Mirren charged them, I think it was something like, I think it was, the first year was £15,000, plus they don't have to pay me.
Yeah.
And then the next time when they wanted me back, it was 30,000 plus they don't have to pay me. And I was looked after in Toronto, accommodation, car, everything. And it was a sensational experience. Loved it.
But no downtime. And you hear the footballers nowadays we need 2 weeks off
now after
a
long season.
My only problem was that when I came back, the both years, because St Mirren were a good side, would qualify for Europe, and I was ineligible to play in the early European games because I wasn't signed prior to the dates. So I missed out on some of the European games that St Mirren had at the time, but I just enjoyed the experience. And my very, very first game for Toronto Blizzard was at a place called Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and we got beat 4-0, and I thought, oh, what's happening here? But the front three for Fort Lauderdale was Gerd Muller, Kubias, and George Best. So they should have paid me loan money. I never seen the ball. And I thought, this is going to be...
What did you think when you run out and that's the thought?
You're gone. But most of the teams you played, it was like that. They were like... I was unfortunate because Pelé had just retired for New York Cosmos the year before. But the big star was Beckenbauer, so I played against Beckenbauer.
Oh, you'd have been up against
and Carlos Alberto,
he'd have been
the manager of Brazil. Yeah. And I remember I was the guy Keith Eddy, who I knew, came at me and said, Jimmy, says, listen, I'm going to ask you to do a specific job today. He says, Beckenbauer's been playing in midfield for the Cosmos. So he says, I don't have any of the midfield players that are capable. He says, but your fitness levels, you'll be able to match them and get about them. I said, but I don't know how to tackle. He says, no, just as long as you're going and you're pressurising them. And right, okay, so I had to man mark, and I'm no joking. First 52, I'm going, where is he? It's like, it's quite strange. So there was one broke, and the Beckenbauers came in, and I went and whacked him, and they broke his ankle with.
Did you?
What? He got carried off. And I thought, now he'd been one of my heroes, Beckenbauer, you know. So, but that was just one of the things. I didn't mean to do it. It just how it happened.
For the listeners out there, Jimmy's just shrugged.
But you know,
did you go in afterwards? Sorry.
No. Just never admit guilt.
Okay. Did you play against Cruyff as well then?
Yeah, I played against Johan Cruyff. In fact, all of the big names at that time, and like Pelé had obviously stepped down, and Best, George Best, I played against George Best
a few times
in 5 different countries.
See, we were speaking about this, and we can think of 3.
Yeah,
Scotland,
Canada, America,
Canada, America,
Hong Kong. And here's one for you.
In Hong Kong,
Mr. Young, it's a coach. We needed a defender, and John's contract was finished at St Mirren, and John came over and stayed with me in Hong Kong, like the odd couple right enough was stayed in this apartment, and John had a contract for 2 months, and George Best joined, and he had a contract for 2 months, and he was at the hotel at the bottom of the road, and his agent was Bill McMurdo. So like Best was there, so me and Youngie used to go with George Best, go for a coffee, because obviously
of course it was a coffee.
No, seriously, he was trying to kick the booze,
right, okay,
but he was like a magnet for the women in general, but for everybody. He would stand at the end of the bar and they would queue up to talk to him. And what a player he was, and Young, I'll tell you, his fitness levels were brilliant.
So
pots of tea or a coffee.
Who did he play with in Hong Kong? Because you were the Rangers.
He played, I can't remember the name of the team he played for. He played with a team, played 2 games for them, and I played against them. And then he came and played 2 games for us. The same, so we played
swap teams.
It was like they were allowed to do it.
Right.
There. So that was a fascinating experience playing with George. He was absolutely brilliant.
So you're like one of the first jet set footballers.
Yeah, but it was good.
See, with all those star names you were throwing about there, as George Best, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, etc., who would be the best player you've shared a pitch with then?
That's a difficult one. That's a difficult one because it depends on players you play with. You know just how good they are, and then it's like you're going, if it's a player you're playing against, it's a different feeling. That'd be difficult. Beckenbauer was sensational,
right.
But then that's the real.
Until you took him out.
Cruyff was also something really different special. George Best was sensational. He was sensational. But Dennis Law and Kenny Dalglish were, and Billy Bremner.
Was it Dixie Deans?
Billy Bremner.
The list goes on. It's a long list.
Yeah. You know, so I was very, very fortunate, and I've no doubt about that. I was very fortunate.
One of the things I've noticed on about modern football, and I think it's a curse on the game, I don't know if you think you could how to fix it, but it's the diving. What
find them.
What can we do with that? It seems to be.
I don't even find them. Is that just stop them playing?
Yeah, I think
somebody dives, okay, and the referee gives them a yellow card, give them a 5-game ban.
Something severe has to happen.
It's got to be as severe as that to stop it, because the thing is that we can sort it out in Scotland maybe, but then are you going to sort it out in the European games? Are you going to sort it out in the World Cup games?
That's true,
and that, so it has to be a worldwide thing. You imagine Pele, but he must be watching these games now, because he got kicked black and blue. You never ever seen him going down. You needed an axe for to knock him down.
It's crazy.
You
hear them, they scream, and it's just doing the head.
And I'll tell you, it's worse now when you're going to games and there are no supporters in.
Because you hear it.
You can hear it, and you're going, my word. And the amount of guys who are going about lording it now in games because they're nobody giving them a row, and they're taking the ball all the time. And then you've got other guys who miss the crowd at them to give them that extra spur. I think football's nothing without supporters. I know Jockstein said it, but he's 100% correct. The games in now are a wee bit false because there's nobody in. You need the people with the scarves on, buying their money and going in.
Screaming and shouting.
But you need that. I think you need
That's football, isn't it?
It was a World Cup final when I was at school playing in the playground with my pals. When I went on to play my professional career, it was a World Cup final every time. I put my boots on, not just for a game, training. I played to win all the time. I didn't win all the time, but I tried to win all the time. And I think that's so important, that's a thing you instill. There's no a switch that you can put on and off, so you have to have the right attitude constantly, and just do that constantly. And I think that's has to be done. And that's the one thing I think that's missing in the modern game. Some of them big money, they're not bothered tonight. Can't be bothered.
Yeah, of course.
And they're getting the same money regardless. So it's
that's right.
I've tweaked my hamstring. I'm out for 3 weeks or something.
That's right. Yeah, and the diving as well, cheating. Now, if you're in the cup final and you fall down in the box and the referee gives you a penalty and you win 1-0 and you win the cup, what does that medal mean to you? You've cheated to win it. What's that value? Absolutely zilch. So why would you cheat to get a result? So there's no glory in that for me.
I think a lot of the pundits on TV are no helping either, because they actually say things like, "Oh, he's entitled to go down,"
I know.
and I don't.
I'm with you on that.
Oh, it looked as though he was touched.
Or there was contact. He's entitled to go. Now, back in the day, you would entice the guy in to whack you, but he whacked you and you went down because you knew you were going down, but you knew you were getting whacked.
So a proper whack.
Oh, a proper whack. Oh, aye.
Now they've got like 15 cameras and they go, "Oh God, there was a touch on the ankle."
There was a wee brush. Yeah.
What would you say to a player if you were still managing?
Just stay on your feet, son, and play.
But if someone
some
had
of the
done
times they're in a position where they can maybe go and create an opportunity or actually score. They're in and they go down. Now the referee might not get it, so put it in. Well, Al Shankly's favourite one. But it was one. He was having a talk with some of the players, and like, "I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that," and the boy says, "I'm not really sure what to do." And Bill Shankly says, "I'll tell you what to do, son. Put the ball in the net, and then we'll talk about your options." And he's right. Just score, and then we'll decide
the rest.
We'll argue later.
Aye.
Once you'd finished with the Hong Kong Rangers and Toronto Blizzards, was that you then moving on to Hearts at that stage, was it?
I came back to Hearts, yeah, and it was great. Like 34-year-old and going to play for Hearts because I'm a jambo.
You're a soft spot for them.
But all my family were Rangers on my dad's side. My mum's side were Hearts,
right?
And so your mum doesn't take you to the football. So when me and my brother, my dad would take one of us. So we would have turnabout. So Farah declared then I was a Hearts supporter. My brother would have got to all the Rangers games, now when I go. So you always wanted to go and see. So I was a closet Hearts supporter for a long time. And going and playing for them was just sensational. It was the icing on the cake. Like I was 34 or something when I went there, but I really, really enjoyed it. Hibs had approached me, and Hibs wanted me to go as assistant manager to Pat Stanton.
Right.
But stop playing. And I thought, 34, stop playing? Nah.
Not ready for
I'm not
this
doing
yet.
that. Plus, I'd played a trial for Hibs when I was a kid, when I was maybe 15, 16. And so I'm thinking, I would have played for Hibs then, but going to play for Hibs later on, I didn't think that would have worked. So obviously I went
Not being a jambo either, you couldn't play for Hibs surely.
At the start to get your first leg up.
Absolutely,
yeah,
no
of
doubt
course.
at this stage.
Know when you've got the opportunity. And the other one's Hearts. There's only one winner there. Hearts wanted me to play. They wanted me to go and play beside Robbo and help Robbo, but they also had Dave Bowman, they had Gary Mackay. We had good young players. Kenny Black, we had good, and Wally Johnson played, who was another one like Andy Penman. If I'm 1-1 with the fullback, you be in the box because it's coming in. And he said that to me before the first game. And he's 1-1 with the fullback, knocks it past him, whips it across, bounced off my head, 1-0. It's Arsenal we were playing. The right back had 70 caps for Northern Ireland. Pat Rice.
Really?
That's how good Wally Johnson was.
Pat Rice.
You know, I mentioned them. Wally Johnson and Bobby Lennox, for me, are two most underrated players of all time. These guys were sensational. They were world class. Both of them was won a European medal. Got one of them. Wally Johnson scored 2 goals in the final, didn't he?
And then sat on the ball.
As a striker.
and
these two guys, they were top draw. They were quick, but it wasn't just pace. Like Bobby Lennox scored I don't know how many goals. And a lot of the goals Bobby Lennox scored weren't given because he was given his offside because he was that quick.
Right, okay.
He would be onside, but by the time he touched the ball, he'd be 3 yards in front of him and they automatically thought. And Wally Johnson, they were brilliant. They were sensational. I was fortunate enough to play with them as well. And
so that was 84, was it, at Hearts, round about there?
And it's Hearts actually left to go to Arbroath as player
full
manager.
circle.
And
The famous Arbroath.
Yeah, and it came back, and I didn't do myself justice on the pitch. I just felt that I was trying to be the manager when I was playing, and it wasn't working. But I felt that if I'd been playing to my normal level, I would have helped the team. So it was a bit in turmoil. And I used to tune it and think about what we're going to do here. It was one of them, and so I said, right, I'll stop playing and then just go. And with a good group with young players, with a good group here, and there were a couple of local boys. Gubby was there.
Gubby Mitchell.
Right.
Right.
And Mark McWalter, who could have been anything, but he got this injury, St. and I don't think he was treated properly the right way at the start of his injury. The medical treatment, I thought, just wasn't right, and he never ever recovered for that, which was sad because he could play. He was strong, he was pacey, he was brave, he could score a goal. He was very, very unfortunate because he would have been a real good player. I paid £50,000 to Arbroath for him.
I played with Mark at the lads club, and I remember he scored, I think it was something like 95 goals in one season. All we did was pass it through, and his speed was insane.
He was strong and quick. And his brother Ray played at United, didn't he?
Right,
United. And they were really good young players.
And then you moved to St Mirren. You were assistant.
I was assistant to Alex Smith.
You won the cup?
The Scottish Cup in '87, yeah. And I had a fallout with the board, and I went to Dundee United. And the following year, Dundee United got to the cup final and got beat with Celtic in the final. It was Celtic centenary year.
Centenary one, yeah.
When United had scored first, Kevin Gallagher, and we were in total charge. Then McAvenny popped up and scored 2 goals.
That's right, yeah.
That's some way to repay your pal. That was it, And then I went to Airdrie as a manager, and then I was at Airdrie, got Airdrie promoted, and then I left Airdrie and I went to Zambia.
Yeah, we're going to mention Africa because it's
Power Dinos, yeah.
What sort of experience was that?
It was an advert in a paper, and I knew I was going to believe in Airdrie. I thought, I've got them up. Don't know what ways things are going to go, and so I went over to Zambia, and they looked after me. It was really good, and I couldn't believe the quality of the players. They were good players, but they weren't fit and they weren't organised. That's easy. Making them players is difficult, but getting them fit and organised is easy. So got them fit, got them organised, and then they went on a spell where they just won. And we won the league, and we ended up winning the African Cup Winners' Cup, which is the first time any country from below the equator had ever won a tournament in Africa.
It's always Egypt and Tunisia,
it was always mostly the Arab countries, or Nigeria or Ghana, and so it's like for a team from Zambia to go and win that, it was a very, very special thing. But the players did it, and then we won it, and it was great. But some of the trips were sensational. Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cote d'Ivoire, and like Nigeria, all over, and going to all these different countries, and like you're in the stadium and you're the only white guy there, and some of the tricks that they would get up to. Went to place, I think it was Burundi. It was like it had, you know how you have these mesh things like that they used to do in the roads, and they would have all the boiling, the fires going and stuff like that. They had one of them at the side of the pitch as the team was coming out on the pitch, and the guy with wee sort of effigies with our colours on them, and throwing them on the fire. They're throwing them on the fire, you see. So I pull the guys to the side and everything, and said, "Look, you're all right." He says, "Don't worry about that. White man's magic you're used to do. We're all right, everything's fine." And they were okay with it. And the worst one was in the final, the first leg we're playing in Nigeria, and we're in the tunnel ready to walk out, because what happened is that the 2 legs in the final had to be at the national stadiums. Okay. So it was the National Stadium in Lagos, and the other one was the National Stadium in Lusaka. So the away leg was the first one. So we're walking down, and I'm leading the team out, and this guy jumps out the side, one of the local guys, and he's got a live chicken, and he slits its throat, and the blood's all dropping, and he's giving all this dancing and singing the black magic, you see. So again, as we go down the stairs, I get the guys in, I said, "Look, well, you played for Scotland today, not Zambia. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sing a Scottish song for you on the way onto the pitch, And while you're walking on the pitch, I want you to clap with me. So I started giving, "Oh, far as Scotland, when always." So the Zambian team have walked onto the pitch, and the other team are all looking, and there was going on, and they were going, "What's happening? This man's mad." You see, and it was, so we lost 3-2, but played really well. It was a couple of dodgy decisions. So in the second leg, I'm thinking, got to try and get something for the second leg. And so what the players have a wee card. And what happens, one of your coaches goes into the opposition changing room with one of the officials, and he checks the player against the card. I would say to him, "I'm going in today." Walk into the changing room, and the guy says, "Yeah, you want to check?" I went, "No, I'll tell you what today. Play who you want, I'm not caring." And walk right back out. Got bananas, absolute bananas. But it upset them. And it was just a case to try and just get something for our boys. And of course, I went back and I told our boys, and they were all laughing and everything. But it was just something just to break the ice. And we won the game 3-1.
You must have went down as a bit of a local hero over there, did you?
Statues
and
everything.
Popular. It was popular because it was a winning time, it's like everything else. But just last week, been invited to go back to Zambia. We had a charity who's based in Stirling, called Africa on the Ball, and the school where I go and do a wee bit of coaching, and they've asked me if I'll go over because they want to go and do a documentary about my time there, and that's something to look forward to. But what happened is, and it's the saddest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, I was only home maybe a couple of months. In Zambia, we're playing a game, the African Championships, and the plane crashed in Gabon, and everybody on the plane got killed. Jesus. And there were 5 of my players, ex-players, and my assistant, who was very, very friendly. The 6 of them died in the plane crash. And there's a memorial outside the National Stadium, and I've never seen it, and I'm desperate to go.
Yeah, I bet.
And this company said, "Well, that's a great thing. We can go and we can take you to the memorial,
pay your respects,
and then pay your respects, and then we can get stuff, some of that from that," which is really good. And that's the saddest thing that's ever happened to me, is that because the guys that killed the Zambian internationalists, these guys were some players. With a centre half called Robert Wakiakeni, he used to do overhead kicks, pass back to the goalie for the halfway line. And I said to him, "Robert, why do you do it?" "I get bored." I says, "Well, you better not get bored and make a mistake." "I no make a mistake. I'd be good. I will be good. Don't worry." And he was right. And the captain, who was a guy, his name was Wisdom Chansa, Chansa. He went and he played in the Olympics for Zambia, and he was the main man. He was the captain. He was maybe 28 something, and he was such a player. And he was one of the ones. Now, the boy I'm talking about, Robert, I'd organised him. He was going to South Africa. I'd fixed him up with a team. I'd fixed Wisdom up with a team in South Africa as well. And there's one of the other ones I'd fixed up with a player called Keenan Samambe. He was a wee guy, forward, lightning quick, really strong wee boy. And I'd lined these guys up to go when we went, and they would have earned so much more money they could.
Right, so that changed their lives.
Changed their lives. And so these 3 were part of the ones.
You couldn't have hooked them up for Gayfield though, eh? They wouldn't have done too great at Gayfield.
Well, the thing is, at that time they wouldn't be able to come in and play for Rangers or Celtic because it was to do with, you had to have so many international caps, and it was really difficult because the way it was. But that was a sensational period. It was a very, very successful period and a great time in my life. It just finished. See the plane they were on? The plane used to sit at the airport at Lusaka, and a couple of times they came to me when we were going, and our other one was, "Oh, there's a plane there, we'll use that." I says, "No, you'll know," because you could see it was an old plane. I said, "No, we're not using that, but it'll be cheaper." I said, "I don't care if it's cheaper. Get yourself on like a normal flight and pay, because the return leg you'll make enough money for to go and get it. And so I refused twice not to use that plane. And when the international team, the manager, he says, we'll be all right with that. And the players, so that was a real sad. It took me a long time to go over that.
I bet.
I imagine, yeah.
You know, because when I left there, I then went to South Africa, and I coached in South Africa for a spell. And then I got offered the St Mirren job when I was in South Africa, and so I came back and managed St Mirren. But that was a real gut wrench, because when you seen them when they were playing, they were absolutely brilliant. And what they used to do is that if it was a home game, they paid their bonus in cash in their hands after the home game. So that was a godsend for them, and that was a big thing. And when they went away, they got paid I think it was $10 per day spending money. Obviously the club picked up the tab for them, but they got $10 per day. So sometimes we were away for 7 days to play one game, because in Africa the countries are not all the same. You're maybe going from bright heat to humid heat, so you've got to go that wee bit earlier to acclimatise. These guys thought this was a godsend, because what had happened in the previous is that the guys at the top, they would keep the money and just maybe give them $10 or $20. Whereas I said to the boss when I had to go, I says, right, look, I know that you have a treasure that comes and you've got a load of US dollars. I get shared amongst everybody. What do you mean? I said, no, I get shared. If there's 16 players going, everybody gets the same. No, and you can't have that. Well, okay. What to do is give the directors $10 more than the players.
This sounds like the unions in the mines or something. Makes sense.
At the end of the day, the guys are the guys who are going and doing it. Yeah. And see what they used to do when they went away? They spent that money on stuff for their kids or their house. The goalkeeper carried a television on the way back on his shoulder on the plane. A television. I'm saying, how did they get that through? But he carried it. He bought it and he carried it all the way through. And so they're going home with all these presents to the wives that they never ever done before. You know, so that made it, and that was a bit to get it together as well, because they're entitled to it.
So what are you actually doing? What's your involvement in football these days, Jimmy?
Well, basically I'm retired, but I go and watch the opposition for Dick. And also is that my last job was working full time with the Scottish FA.
Sure.
And I was in charge of a school of football programme they had within the central region. So when I retired, one of the schools phoned me up and asked if I'd go in and do half a dozen sessions a week for the kids. I said, no problem, we'll do that.
It's good to give something back as well, isn't it?
Well, of course it is, and it keeps you thinking about the game, it keeps you thinking, keeps you on your toes.
And you'll see a wide range of games spying for Dick, yeah?
Well, I go and watch the opposition. Is that when they played Auchinleck in the Cup, I was down at Ayrshire 2 weeks in a row.
And because you're spying for Dick, does that mean you get to go on the Magaluf holiday still?
Why would I not be on it?
So there must have been sometimes, the Magaluf holidays.
Well, it's like everything else, isn't it? It's like I was saying earlier on, it's just the boys going away for a laugh, and
there's no way you're social convener at these ones.
They don't go away when they have a bad season.
It's a reward.
It's a reward.
So they would have got it then just for staying in the obviously championship.
So it's a reward. So they go and they're rewarded for what they've done, and so they have to earn it, and they go and
I'm sensing this is very much what goes on tour stays on tour stuff.
But there's no doubt about that. No. The one thing, I've never been a clipe.
Nobody likes the grass.
No. So grass.
So how long's the Magaluf thing been going on for then?
Well, Dick and I have done it longer than me. They used to do it when Dick was assistant manager at Dunfermline with Bert Payton. They used to do it then.
So it's been going on for like 20 years or something?
It's been going that long, aye.
Wow.
Will they get this year even with the COVID and all the rest of it? No, probably not. After such a brilliant staying up and all the rest of it.
They've earned it.
Oh, what? Without a doubt.
They've earned it because it was tight this year after the bad start. But the players have earned the reward.
Do you get through to Gayfield much to watch games? Or?
Well, obviously because I'm going away. I've been at a couple. I was at the last game, Morton, and I go to a couple of the games. But it's that. But people don't appreciate that Dick's got guys that can play, and I thought every year the guys that he brings in the January, they have an impact.
Oh, and they definitely did this year.
They did this year, but then they have an impact all the other years as well, but even more so this year.
Aye.
They have an impact.
Yeah.
That's part of the quality he's got. He knows what he's needing. He knows when he needs it.
And with the years and the games you guys have got, he's got the contacts to get it as well, you know.
Well, that's another thing as well. He's got good contacts.
And he's highly respected, so like...
He's very well respected.
When he makes a phone call, folk will listen, won't they?
Oh, of course, he definitely. And as I say, covers the ground as well. You know, I'll go to games midweek, but him and Pink will be at games as well.
Yeah.
And we don't go and sit together and go to the same games.
Aye.
We cover the ground.
Aye, it's a job.
Aye, and I think a lot of the other teams could learn, because a lot of the other people don't go to games.
Aye.
Maybe know what you see on the park. It's who you might meet, and somebody might just say one wee thing. Oh, right, and to your benefit, you can go and you can get something. So it's important that you're going and do your work. And there's one of Dick's favourite sayings is that there's a time to work and there's a time to play. Mag loose when they play, the rest of the season's when they work.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Will you be scouting again in the new season?
Possibly. I don't see any reason why not. But I've never spoke about it yet. I don't see any reason why not. Dick was best man when I got married.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I got married the second time.
Yeah, just to show it.
Showing it, yeah. And Dick was best man.
Right, okay.
We had roommates all the years, like, so we're very good pals.
Well, let's hope it carries on next year then, eh?
Yeah,
The success it gave you.
I would hope to start the season better. It depends who comes up.
Seems to be a good foundation at Gayfield now, though.
It's a great foundation,
yeah.
because he's got a group of players that are decent, and I think over the last couple of seasons, I think the defence has been very good.
Yeah.
The defence has been very good, but I thought this year in the middle of the park they were good.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were as good in the front areas of the park as what they maybe should be. They should have done better. We lost 14 goals for Bobby.
Of course,
how do you replace 14 goals for a wide player who you're not expecting to score?
Exactly.
Now, last year they were God sent their goals, weren't they? They were great. They having their goals up your sleeve. Well, that didn't happen this year, so the goals had to be spread about a wee bit. So ideally, it'd be great to go and get a goal scorer, but where are you going to get a goal scorer?
Just need to
You're
find
paying
another-
fortunes for goal scorers.
Just find a Jimmy Bourne.
Well, they're no easy to find.
And that's why you got inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of
Yes,
years back, wasn't it?
yeah.
2019?
Yeah, I was very happy, very pleased with it.
Did they do a ceremony? What actually happens at these
they had a
things?
function at Carnoustie.
Right.
And Gubby was inducted in as well, I
That's
think,
right,
in
yeah.
the same night. So that was very special, very good. I really appreciated that. That's good. That gives me 4.
Because I know you've got Norwich.
Uh-huh.
Where else have you got then?
Partick Thistle.
You got Partick.
St Mirren.
St Mirren.
Of course, aye.
So
Not bad going, eh?
I'm delighted. I'm just a wee boy from Flint. I was brought up with the arse hanging out my trousers, the toe out my sannies. Just wanted to play football, and I've been fortunate that breaks have went at the right time for me.
And for you personally, what would you say the biggest highlight of your career would have been then, Jimmy?
Play for Scotland, 100%.
Absolutely, doesn't get any
You
better,
dream
does
about
it?
that when you're younger, don't you? And you come on for Dennis Law. That's a fairy tale, isn't it? It's a fairy
amazing.
tale.
On that note, I don't think it can end in a better way.
Fantastic.
Jimmy
way to finish.
Bone, Arbroath Hall of Famer, Arbroath legend, Scotland player. Thank you so much for coming, talking to us. It's been a blast.
Brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
Cheers now.
Thanks
Take
very
care.
much.
All the best.
It's great going down memory lane.
You've been listening to the Smokies and Wine podcast, sponsored by Clackenview Wealth Management, working with you today to plan for your tomorrow.